One day, I woke up to this strange idea. What is the most absurd way I can create a business? What if I had an AI in the cloud running on its own, to which I could send prompt, not even by typing them, but by spelling them out? Yes, I am that lazy. I'm gonna have a device which is gonna help me record my voice, send this vocal message to my AI online, which is gonna translate it into text and then into a prompt, which is again gonna be executed by this AI, pushed in a live development environment, which I'll be able to check with my phone from anywhere I am and just change the app live. But this wouldn't be funny if I just use a smartphone. So I went to Marketplace and bought an old vintage phone from the 1940s. Now, since most of you probably don't care about the actual software I created for this project, here is a quick visualizer of how that work went.
Hey, it's Michael.
Now, before I went to the countryside, I first needed to get a prototype down, just to see if I could even put everything together. And in order to transform that old vintage phone into the Hotline Claude that we seek, I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, the lab. Back in the old days, I used to be a huge fan of IoT. It was my dream job to work in IoT, but unfortunately that is not something that is really common nowadays. And so I had some tools. I bought first, which is the most important part, a Raspberry Pi. This device is a mini computer that is fitting in absolutely nothing, as you can see, that is going to allow us to send some post data to our VPS. And those data need to be gathered somehow. So in order to do that, we are going to be using some breadboard here with some circuit, and we are going to be using some parts, which you can see here on the site, which are going to be giving some infos and receiving some infos, sending it through the Raspberry Pi, which is going to then treat it and send it to the API.
4 hours later.
All right, so I just finished the prototype of the device. Let me walk you through it. Start the script. You see that it's now in standby, waiting for input. Then if I press on this little button, you see that the light lit up. The sound is being picked by the microphone, and every time I speak, we see that the volume bar is going up and down because it's picking up my voice. And then once I press on the second button, I then stop the recording, and you see that the recording has been successful and is now finally stored on the Raspberry Pi. And we can check this. So if I go out of the tab and then I start doing ls, I see that there is now a voice record.wav, which is going to be the file that will be sent to Claude Code in order to prompt him.
The next day.
You remember that little voice record that we did yesterday? There is the actual transcripted by Whisper, which has just been sent with a curl post request, and it's perfectly working. So now I need to modify the script in order to only feed it to Claude and not back to my Raspberry Pi. Moment of truth. Let's see if what Whisper translates is actually promptable. So the script is running. You push once on this one to start the recording, twice to stop it, and then you send it once you're satisfied with the second button. Could you please change the background color to a more blue cyan? Thank you. Isn't it? Experience and persistent time, more bold science. Blue comme le bleu est du consensus. Instead of the previous model, it's changing life. This is so funny. But that moment of happiness was short-lived. Unfortunately, I got attacked by some web bot that scrapped my data and tried to get access to my environment variables, which I had to renew and rebuild all from scratch, which took me about a day of work. All right, so I spent the whole afternoon just fixing the security, and now I have everything set up so that no intruders will be able to get in or brute force their way in. And I am on my way to get the final pieces, an old phone from the 40s.
Oui, bien sûr.
Got the old vintage phone, and so now I'm gonna go back home, quickly open it, see if some of the stuff inside still work, so that I can reuse it maybe to make it more realistic. But yeah, I have little hope for that because it's probably not compatible. And indeed it wasn't. But the phone was in pristine condition. Can you imagine that someone actually called someone else using this phone back in 1940? Hello, Claude? Oh, you won't be back for dinner? What?
Je m'attendais pas à ça.
Then I got to work. I first started by emptying it out to see if I could even fit the Raspberry Pi within that old phone case. And then in a second time, I tried to see if I could maybe reuse some parts of the old phone, which I managed to by cutting some pieces out and use that little pressure mechanism that sits on top to stop and start the actual recording of the voice. I then put a little LED in front of the phone to get some visual feedback and hid a button at the back of it to send the vocal message to my AI. And after all this work, it finally all came together. Then I got to pitch my product to some potential investor, and let's say they were not impressed. Claude, please create a landing page for a marketing app. Nice. Bien. Le manque de réaction. Incroyable. Ma vidéo, elle va être chiante. But I believed in my product, and I went on to test it on the actual battlefield, where I know it will shine. We are finally able to shoot in the pub. I am cringing myself to death as everyone is trying to watch the football match. But yeah, we've made it. I have a Guinness. I have Hotline Claude right there running. Claude, run the app. And anytime. All right, it's running. So we see the API. It's now running. It's giving me a health check, so it's good. Can you please create a front end for an app about marketing? Make a nice title and a signing option. And we send it. It looks like it finally pushed the actual code, the website. Let's see if the signing work, the registration mostly. Get started. You have the sign up page here. So if I try to create my account, sign up, and it failed because of a super base issue. Claude, please make me a SaaS that makes $1 million a year. What's really nice about this setup, it's really portable, it's really convenient. You can take it absolutely anywhere. Oops. As long as you have a little plug. Oops. Ah. Hello, Claude. Can you put pastel purple and white as the primary colors? Please change and rework the landing page. In the end, it felt like cheating. This setup is just way too powerful, so I had to shut it down. I had to finish the website with the computer just because I couldn't live with the fact that it was just such an unfair advantage to the other software developer. But the good news is that if you want to actually check out what I have built with Hotline Claude, the link will be in the description. It's called marketstats.com. And if you like it, let me know. If you don't, let me also know. I'll give some quick calls. Please fix this, please fix that, and hopefully the website will find its use to you. Claude, can you add some diagram to the social media page, please?